name's Shellie, and it says that I was an art teacher for 15 years, where they asked me to be the director of the Chamber of Commerce, where I promptly picked up my phone and said, Siri, what does the Chamber of Commerce do? Because I have no idea as a teacher, and I still don't really know, and I've been making it up pretty much ever since. What I found is that most of the time in these positions, you do whatever your town needs you to do. So what Wetumpka needs may be different than what Blakely needs, and so we just sort of been making that up as we go along. Raise your hand if you know who that is. Ben and Erin Napier are the hosts of Home Town, a show in Laurel, Mississippi. In season 3, they were so popular that they decided that they might be able to take their show on the road. And in 2020, they launched a nationwide search asking small towns to submit videos so that they could come and help. So what they didn't expect, the producers of the show, is that they got nearly 5,000 submissions from 2,600 towns. Now, the show is produced by a woman-owned company called RTR Media out of Toronto. And the woman that owns its name is Jenna Keene. And Jenna said she sat in front of her computer and she cried because they all said the same thing. Help us. We love our hometown. Help us. We're trying so hard. We want to breathe life back into our town. And she said it's pretty tough to sit there and watch these people begging for help and know that you had to choose just one. And in the end, they did choose one. And if you're going to be on the front of people.com, you should have your mouth open. Wetumpka won. And so in the middle of a global pandemic, a whole bunch of Patagonia-wearing vegans came to Alabama. And they taught us how to make TV, which sounds really glamorous, but it's not. We were in the middle of a pandemic, so every time that we were on camera, we had to get COVID tested twice. My nose holes will never be the same. And so they came to Wetumpka. Has anyone been to Wetumpka? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so they did 6 large-scale projects. They built us a farmer's market, and they did 6 houses. But the thing is, I'm not here to talk to you about television. Because what happened in episode 1 is they said that I worked at the Chamber of Commerce. And during the show, my phone was going ping, 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 because you know with Messenger, you can get anybody, right? And they all said this, how come they chose you? What were you doing differently? What was Wetumpka doing differently than all the other towns? And how can we do that too? And so that is why I'm here today. So by now you realize that I don't sound like I'm from Alabama. I'm actually from Colorado, and I know that's exactly what you're thinking. It really looked like that. It's Prairie Hill. So the cost of living is very high. My last 2 children are adopted from South Korea, and they were getting ready to head into high school, and there was no good feeder school for them. And so God gives us free will. So as I was living out on the Eastern Prairie, I knew I needed to do something different than what I was doing, but I didn't know what that looked like. So I'm an artist. And I decided to make a list because I'm visual. The same way a company looks at your town and looks for things, they make a list. What's important to them? Good schools, low crime. If you can't educate your kids and people don't feel safe, that's pretty tough. Diversity. My kids are Asian. I didn't want them to go live in a place that was all white. I wanted to live near a city, but not in one. I wanted there to be a good art community. I didn't want to shovel snow anymore. So I grabbed a map and I folded it directly in half because I didn't want to shovel snow anymore. And that eliminated 50% of the US. Then I picked up my phone again and I said, Siri, what are the 2 largest Korean corporations in the US? And Siri said Kia and Hyundai. And I figured I might be able to find some Asians if I wedged myself between Kia and Hyundai. So I started looking right north of the beach between Kia and Hyundai. And I spent about 9 months looking at demographics, crime, schools, all that. Then I bought an airline ticket and I flew to Atlanta. Go ahead. And I rented a convertible because no good story starts in a minivan. And I started driving around. And now at this point, you got to know my dad is a judge and he's really serious. And he has said to me, Shellie, are you out of your cotton picking mind? You're just going to drive around the South. You don't know anybody looking for the perfect place. I said, I don't know, Dad. But I know I can't keep doing what I'm doing, or I'm going to keep getting what I'm getting. So I'm driving around. I hit Columbus, Georgia, drive through. Nope, that's not for me. Driving around. At the end of day 2, I'm in the La Quinta Inn in LaGrange, Georgia, and I can hear my dad in my ear. And I'm like, I'm out of my cotton picking mind. Like, is there going to be a sign? Hey, Shellie, move here. Right? Feeling a little defeated. But I got up the next morning, had a cup of coffee, put my big girl pants on, because there was one more place on my list. And on the third day, I came over the bridge into Wetumpka, Alabama. And my artist heart skipped a beat, because Wetumpka is interesting. We're wedged between a mountain and a river. So most of the town was built in the late 1800s, just like your town. It looks like a little movie set, right? Just like yours. Now, here's the Coosa River, Bibbs Grave Bridge. It's like a little time capsule. Go ahead. Now, as I'm driving through, more than 40% of the town was boarded up, right? I mean, your buildings look good. We're talking they had boards in the windows. There was something about it. So as I'm driving along, this building had boarded up windows. It said, call this number. I said, all right. So I called, and somebody from the city came. She was an economic developer. And she got out of her car, and she said, welcome to Wetumpka. And I said, hey. Now, it was boarded up, so we had to put our phones just like this, like you do when you're around a campfire, right? And it's an old lumber yard. So we go in, we go up the back staircase, and as we're standing in there, she's telling me how much they love their town, how they've watched it dry up, how they want to bring it back to life. And I tell her, as an artist, that I believe the best way to tell your story, whether you're a human being or an organization or a community, is through the arts. And after about an hour, that woman looked at me and she said, you should move here. And I said, all right. Because there was my miracle. It wasn't even lunchtime, right? So I decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to move to Wetumpka. I have to find somewhere to live. Now, if you've been to Wetumpka, you know that there's a big white house that sits like a lighthouse right on the hill above downtown. And so I didn't know anything about it. So I marched into the mayor's office. I said, hi, you don't know me, but what's the deal with that house? He said, oh, that's the Big Fish house. I said, I don't know what you're talking about, sir. He said, oh, Tim Burton filmed a movie there in the early 2000s, and it's been sitting empty ever since. I said, do you have his number? He said, yeah. So I called the man in California. I said, you don't know me. Do you want to sell your house? He goes, honey, I had an appointment with the realtor this afternoon. I said, all right, miracle number 2, and it's not even time for cocktails. So I call the guy in California. He gets me the key, and I walk in. It was tragic, okay? The drywall's falling down, it's moldy, the light fixtures are falling down, it smells horrible, the appliances have the doors off, they're in the dining room. It was awful. No one was dumb enough to buy that house, and that is why I'd been sitting empty for 16 years. So I bought it. Go back to Colorado, tell my kids, we're going to Wetumpka, we don't know anybody, we're gonna live in a movie set, it's gonna be so great. Pack up my teenagers. Have you gone anywhere with teenagers that was pleasant? Right. Pack them up, put them in a U-Haul in the middle of summer, drive cross country, our stress level's high. On the third day, we come over the bridge, on the third day. And man, it was a whole different time, because that's when the crying started. Mama, please don't make us live here. Mom. And for the first time, I didn't see the town as an artist. I saw it as a mother, okay? Go ahead. Empty, rundown buildings. Full lengths of the street were owned by the same person. They were empty and boarded up. Full lengths of the street. Our whole downtown fits in a Walmart parking lot. If you have whole ends of your street that are empty and used as storage, it gives off a Beirut vibe, kind of like this. This is Company Street. The sidewalks were janky and the streets looked like a patchwork quilt. When I moved there, there were 2 restaurants. One was a hot dog restaurant that was only open at lunch. One was a thrift store. I said consignment because that's nice. A nail salon and a popsicle shop, and that is it. And on any given Saturday night, I would sit on the porch up there in that house, and I would look out and think, what have I done? I'm the only person in downtown Wetumpka, Alabama. There's no one else here. Now, this is not unique to Wetumpka. It used to be a bustling river town. It used to have 2 grocery stores and a shoe store, and you could buy clothes there. And people would meet and gather and communicate and have breakfast together. But with nearby shopping malls being built, like in Montgomery, and state highways going around downtowns, they got boarded up and they dried up over time. Go ahead. And yet, we call it the city of natural beauty. And the people that live there love it. And long before I arrived, the people that lived there had started to create a plan to bring it back to life. And the first thing they focused on was fixing the infrastructure. That is actually a sinkhole, and it wasn't the only one, okay? So this is in our downtown, we just had large holes opening up and swallowing cars, okay? That wasn't great. So then what do you do after you create the linear plan? The city engineers, we're gonna put in new sidewalks, great. New drainage, fantastic. New streets, great. How do you breathe life into a town? How do you do that? Wetumpka needed to figure out who we were. What made us unique? What was it we wanted people to say about us? Go ahead. We need to tell the story about what made us different. Because the fact is this, what makes you different, whether you're a middle school girl or an organization or a community, what makes you different is your superpower. Wetumpka sits on the edge of an impact crater. 85 million years ago, that part of Alabama was covered by a shallow ocean, and we got hit by a big fiery rock. There's a 5-mile wide hole in the ground. But nobody had been telling that story. People that lived there didn't even know it. Go ahead. The Coosa River that goes through Wetumpka is 650 miles long. It starts in Rome, Georgia. When the meteor hit, there was a landscape shift, causing amazing whitewater at Moccasin Gap. Great international kayaking. Was anyone marketing that? Nope. The word Wetumpka actually means rumbling water because the Porch Creek Indians knew there was something special about the water change when they got there. Everyone that lives there just thinks it's hard to spell, right? This slimy little snail was almost extinct, the Tulatoma magnifica. When they found that if the power company would change the water a little bit in the river, it would flourish. They did that. And now we embrace the snail. You can find it on Christmas ornaments. We have snail trails. We've embraced this slimy snail. We saved the snail, or maybe the snail saved us. I don't know. Artist Shellie Phelps-Whitfield, one of the most famous Southern artists of all time, is from Wetumpka. I'm an artist and I live there, and I didn't know that because nobody was talking about it. We are home to one of the last freestanding rows and walled schools built prior to desegregation. It's brick and it still has the teacher's home. I was there 2 years before I knew that we had a Black History Museum that houses some quilters that rival Gee's Bend. These women sit and hand stitch them, 2 of which are almost 100 years old. Why did I not know that? So what are your weird things here? What makes you unique? What's your story? What do you have that no one else does? Keep going. What's interesting about your region? Lean into your weird. You can't create positive change if you don't know who you are. You're just winging paint at the wall. You have to consistently know who you are as a human being and as a community. And if you are not intentionally branding this great town, someone else is, and that doesn't mean it's necessarily positive. In 2015, Wetumpka received its Main Street designation. That meant that the sole focus was going to be revitalization. Our branding is like this. Has Blakely done a branding? Have you done a professional branding? Super important. We are. It's Wetumpka, not me-tumpka. We are art. We are history. We are adventure. We are business. That is who we are. We created fonts that everyone shares. Our city, our chamber, Main Street, different logos, they all are cohesive. It gives the idea that we are a family, the same last name with different first names, even though we are different. People visiting can feel that. It's very important. Our hashtags are We Love This Place, We Can Together. It's on t-shirts, bumper stickers, signs. It's on all of our signature lines. We give the locals something to buy into. We love this place. We can together. Keep saying it and saying it and saying it and saying it until they buy into your brand and to your positive message about your community. So what's your hashtag? I don't know. Do you have one? If you don't, you should. And it should be really positive. Something that people can buy into. We teamed up and put up signage downtown. 5 movies have been filmed in our town. Walter Matthau's Grass Harp, Spike Lee's Sons of the South, Tim Burton's Story, Rosa Parks' story, and a whole season of HGTV. Oh, by the way, did I mention that we love this place? If you don't know, it's on every single street light. We put up signs about the impact crater so that people can walk around and learn about it. So how can you, through color, line, and font, create motto momentum behind what you're trying to do? And remember, as you're doing it, it's gained in inches, not yards. It doesn't happen overnight. This is really important. You need a dream team. Whenever I go to a little town, is anyone in this room elected? Okay, forgive me before I speak. When I go to towns, I ask to meet the dream team, and they always put me in a room of elected officials. Y'all are important, and I love you. But your dream team needs to have creatives, out-of-the-box, passionate visionaries. They need a place at the table where decisions are being made. Go ahead. This is who I think needs to be on your dream team. You need money, and you need people that know the stories about this place, the historians. You need people that want to write stories about this place and tell your story. Partner with your schools, your art teachers, your art gallery owners, landscape designers, architects, all the way down. You see the last one? I'm not from Wetumpka, Alabama, but they embrace me. It goes like this. Y'all bought an old house. You moved in. It had ugly wallpaper. You've lived there so long, you don't know your wallpaper's ugly. When you invite someone new over, they know your wallpaper's ugly. They see things that you don't see. They've been other places and they have fresh eyes. Just because they're not from around here, include them, welcome them, invite them. Our Main Street director is not from Alabama. Our tourism director is not from Alabama. I am not from Alabama, and yet we are invited and listened to and part of the team. We also have people that are 82 years old that were born and raised there and know everything about it, and we work together. So who's on your dream team? And here's a question, who should it be, if you know what I mean? Because sometimes you need to do that too. And you need to have a diversity on your team. No one should be the same age. It shouldn't be all men. It shouldn't be all women. It shouldn't be people to go to the same church. It should be a diverse group of people because that is where the magic is. It should be a cross-section of this beautiful, diverse community making the decisions as you move forward. Best slide that I have. I can tell you I am a rock in a lot of people's shoes, but I don't have to spend Christmas with them. Right? Just get in the boat, love this place, and row the same direction. Just row the same direction, whether you like them or not, whether you agree or not. Swallow your pride. I make the mayor mad, he makes me mad. It's the truth. But bloody well, we both love the town we live in, and we respect each other enough to do the work. This is funny. When I go to towns, I'll say, what's the best event you do? And they'll say, oh, the Christmas parade. That's lame. Okay? I'm sorry. It's not niche-y. Like, you have a history here. What do you have that is interesting? When I first moved to Wetumpka, they had a chamber event or a Main Street event or a city event. Little events. Everybody stayed in their lane. And we thought, what if we collaborated? There's a good idea. So we decided we'd collaborate, and we started an event where we transformed the whole downtown into a Dickens Christmas village. And when we do that, the mayor wears a top hat, and he stands and lights the city's Christmas tree, where the high school students sing in full costume, and the Cattlemen's Association are in costume and they're grilling steaks, and the master gardeners are handing out lavender sachets, and people are making butter, and our firemen are dressed up with an old hose, and we have 3 full pages of groups and organizations that work together and come together to make the most magical Christmas you can possibly imagine. It's been featured in tons of magazines. And we don't focus on commerce. We just focus on bringing the community together. And in that moment, in that event, everybody makes the most money. Go figure. Go figure. Go ahead. The following weekend, we do Christmas on the Coosa. Why should you come to Wetumpka's Christmas festival instead of someone else's? Everybody does a lit up parade. Because at ours, Santa wakeboards down the river into the festival and there's fireworks. So what can you do that's different? What can you do to draw people in? You have to do something that makes them come here that they can only get here. Now, I moved to Wetumpka in June. That December, I stepped outside of a restaurant and I saw this. Because we have a guy in our town that actually believes he's Clark Griswold. It says Clark on his office door. He has a police car. He's gotten his friends to buy into it and dresses like Cousin Eddie, the whole 9 yards. Now, rather than having him institutionalized, we embrace him, and they are the grand finale. Go ahead. In our Christmas parade, it lights up. They have confetti cannons and smoke machines. People come from all over. You can see them. They're called the Wetumpka Griswolds. They have a huge following. So we embrace that. Now, because of all this Christmas buffoonery and effort that is done collaboratively, we have been featured in a magazine as a great destination for Christmas. At which point, we promptly turned around and went down to Mobile and spoke to the bus tour companies so that they would come to our town at Christmas so everyone could see it. Connecting the dots. Connecting the dots. Because you know what buses do? They bring in with people with money, they spend it, and then they go home. And that is like manna from heaven. So these are just some niche events that I think are kind of interesting. They have cool names. You can't get them anywhere else. So often when I travel, I'll say, okay, what's the coolest thing? What event could you do? People say, there's nothing. There's nothing in our town. Go ahead. So I'm from Colorado. And in Colorado, there's a little town called Lake City. They have tourist season. And in the off season, they didn't have anything to do. So they have Packer days. Now, Alfred Packer was a prospector back in the late 1800s, and he set out on a trek into the mountains with his buddies. And a few months later, he came back, and everyone called him a hero. But the fact is this. He actually was a cannibal, and he had eaten his friends. Now, wait for it, they have a festival with a mystery meat cook-off, a run for your life run, and a restaurant called Eat Your Friends for or Have Your Friends for Dinner, okay? Now, I am not suggesting cannibalism, but what I'm saying is this. If they can lean into that weird thing and bring 15, 20,000 people into their little town on an off season, there's probably something here too. I'm just making a point, okay? So what event could you do? What's interesting about your history? What's interesting about this place? I have a friend in Enterprise, Alabama that has a boll weevil festival. It's about a gross bug, right? So what could you do here? And as you're doing it, remember to involve the arts, because events that involve the arts bring in people with money. And areas that bring in people with money bring in new business. So whether that is somebody doing a mural, plein air painters, musicians, people with cool food on a food truck that's unique to your area, whatever that looks like, embrace it, because where the arts are, there is flavor to your area. So that's the role that you play in revitalization. Now, when I moved to Wetumpka on this faith walk, there was no art in school. So I got there and I didn't have a job. And that was a big kick in the chops after you feel like you followed what God has told you to do. So our Main Street director invited me to be part of the team to help revitalization. And in 2018, we got our first mural. Now, you can paint a mural, anybody can. You could go paint a mural tomorrow on the side of a wall. But what you paint and where you put it is important. Go ahead. So when you come over the bridge, the first thing you see is that boat on the top of the hotel. Now, for years, they've been talking about revitalization, because if you are part of the team that is working to change your town, you know it takes a lot of planning. Chick-fil-A is not going to come overnight, right? It takes a long time. So the locals have been hearing that they were planning, but they couldn't see anything happening. So on the third day, which is when everything happens, on the third day, the paint was far enough up, and it was a Sunday, go back. People were coming from church, and they were coming over the bridge, and they were honking, and they were waving, because they could finally see something happening. And that afternoon, a news crew crawled out onto the roof and said, hey, can we do a story? And I said, you sure as heck can. And then a newspaper came out. And so then we started to gain some traction. We started to get some momentum. We were in the spotlight. People were talking about it. Well, we don't have any money because we live in Alabama, right? There's no money for anything. So we decided to do a second mural, and we asked our high school art teacher if she would teach a unit on mural painting and teach them about the branding of our town. Got some free paint from Lowe's, and our high school kids did our second mural. Go ahead. Now, our Main Street director was brilliant. Our new one is great too, but our initial Main Street director was 5th generation to our town. And she had this idea because in the middle of the town, right in the middle, was a gravel lot. And people parked in it. Just a big, gravel, ugly parking lot. Our downtown isn't as pretty as yours. And she thought, what if we made it into a community gathering space? So she got some grant money. She sold some bricks, and we had it wired. Father Christmas sits there. We have events there. People eat lunch there. There's music there. And it's home to a 90-foot long mural that tells the story about the history of our town. It's beautiful. So creative placemaking is when you use art and cultural strategies to implement community-led change. What that means is this. You take an underutilized place, a parking lot, place behind a building, a little place here, and you put some art and some benches. You make people gather, because where they gather, they stay and they spend money. And you make them proud because you tell the story of your community, whether that's through sculpture or with art. So what's the most underutilized space here? Where could you do something small? It doesn't have to be big. So in Wetumpka, we were boarded up. We had a lot of empty buildings. So we had trained people just to pull in, park, buy something, and leave. You're not going to make any money. Pull in, park, buy something, leave. We wanted them to keep walking. And we knew that the best way to do that, we had used storybooks, pages during events, but we needed something permanent, a permanent installation. We wanted sculpture. Have you priced sculpture? I wanted big snails. Big snails were $15,000. So we have a crazy guy in our town. I won't ask the name of yours. His name is Ron. Ron comes and he says, we should do a steampunk festival. We're like, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? So he goes and gets an entire dump truck of scrap metal and dumps it in a parking lot by the river. Then we get some teams of welders and we set a timer for 4 hours. Made some posters, got a food truck, put out some music. Oh, look, you have a festival. Kids loved it. And in 4 hours, the welders built these. Go ahead. And the community voted on them. And then we auctioned them off. And now all along our Riverwalk, we have these super weird steampunk sculptures. And they're all over social media. Total cost, $0. Use what you have where you are right now. Just roll with it, right? We're probably never going to have bronze sculptures in Wetumpka, Alabama, maybe. But we have something to keep them walking. Now, I have a friend who is an artist in Colorado. His name's Brett. I call him Bert. When he was 11 years old, he started collecting hubcaps. I used to invite him to my middle school classroom because in high school, his high school art teacher gave him a C- and said art wasn't his thing. And I thought it was important that middle schoolers learn that you shouldn't always listen to what grown-ups say to you. So he would come tell that story. Well, Bert has made sculptures and hubcap art his entire adult life, and he made this huge fish and posted it on social media, and I shared it. My phone rang, it was my mayor, and he said, Shellie, we need that fish. I said, great, sir, it's 9 feet long, it's expensive, and it's in Colorado. And the mayor said, are those all Ford hubcaps? I said, yeah. A couple minutes later, mayor called me back and he said, Ford dealership's gonna pay for it. I told him we'd give him a plaque. I said, well played, sir, well played. So I called the artist and I said, if you bring me that and I put up a plaque and get you a spread in a magazine, will you drive it? He said, absolutely. So now this 9-foot long catfish sits in front of the bank that was in the robbery scene in the Big Fish movie at the foot of the Big Fish house driveway. And it gets photographed and hashtagged all day long. You need a hashtag so people can share your pictures and you can create momentum and excitement about your town. We have a Downtown Redevelopment Authority Board. Do you have one here? Redevelopment Authority Board? Is that a yes? No, not yet? Okay, a lot of towns don't. Redevelopment Authority Board is a group of people that are an arm of the city, but it's a nonprofit that buy buildings and strategically bring in business. So the first project that we did, we bought this old building. It had broken windows at the time, and then we interviewed restaurateurs. It's now a restaurant downstairs, a bar upstairs with roll-up doors. Go ahead. Our second project, we bought this ugly building where they used to house the prisoners' pajamas across from the Chamber of Commerce. It is now a restaurant with roll-up doors and 6 Airbnbs upstairs. Go ahead. This is our incubator space. We knew we needed a place for people to get their feet wet, to start their businesses and not take the risk of brick and mortar and fail. So it's a storage container. Doesn't even have plumbing. It's been a bakery, a jewelry designer, a home shop, a tourist trap, and currently, the rent's $100 a month, including utilities. Currently, it's a 17-year-old high school entrepreneur getting her feet wet in business. And it sits, and I was just telling Suzanne this, I don't know if you can see, on the right side, that's a parklet all made out of pallets. So it's benches, and then there's flowers around the top, AstroTurf, so people sit there and have lunch and gather outside of this little girl's shop. That costs nothing, it's pallets. And I'm telling you all of that because we were doing all of that before we were chosen for a television show. Anyone can do those things. Anyone can do that. A TV show doesn't save a town. I know you love that on television. I love Ben and Aaron too, and they are great, and what they're doing is fantastic. But they can't save a town. The people that live there have to do the work. Now, Aaron's an artist. They did design this mural for us, and our high school kids painted it. Go ahead. And then they did another mural that they printed on these huge placards. They were like, I don't even know, resin. And they mounted them on the back of a restaurant, which means you can put your branding and your artwork anywhere. And when the show aired, nothing could have prepared us. We weren't a tourist destination. We would average 2,000 people a month at the Chamber of Commerce walking around if you did a foot traffic study. That May, we had 23,000 people there coming out of a global pandemic. It was crazy. We just announced that our last building is going to be an urban market downtown. It's the very last building that doesn't have something in it. We went from 50% boarded up. We don't have any more brick and mortar. The only thing we have are second floors. Our mayor likes to say it's like lightning in a bottle. Go ahead. Since the show aired, our historic theater is now a high-end restaurant, and you can see they left the movie screen. So you go in there and have dinner, they still show movies on the back wall, honoring the history. Go ahead. And Kelly Fitzpatrick now has a gallery that's riverfront that helps raise money for art education. Go ahead. It has the best sunset in town. And we have the largest Southern Outsider folk art dealer. She is in the building, the Chamber of Commerce building. People come from New York, Chicago, LA, and they buy paintings that are $20,000. Why do I do that? She brings people to town that can buy paintings that cost $20,000. I give her really cheap rent. We understand who we are, and we're working together to tell our story. What we've seen is that as people have started to collaborate, the building owners are doing things on their own. It's not just the leadership. This is a building owner that painted this mural. Go ahead. We've painted pianos. Our mayor's a musician. He got me a bunch of pianos. We put wheels on them. People painted them. We roll them out at festivals. Creates a vibe. Everyone loves it. This is another mural that someone has done. It's like standing in a postcard. Go ahead. And this is one of my favorite things. I saw down here that some people, see how her windows are painted? Business owners paint their windows. And it used to be that this business would paint, and this business would paint, and this business would paint. But now when I walk down the street, They're all coordinated. They don't match, but you can tell that they talked and they planned it out. And I feel that. And the people that visit there feel that. Because we work together, we have conversations, we have a plan, and it's lovely. Go. This is one of the newest things. Our Main Street director, this is a janky staircase that goes down to a parking lot, but she had a mosaic artist come and put the word rumbling water and do a mosaic of the river. And then next to it is a sign where people can take pictures with the hashtag, again, so that online people can see pictures of the community. Go ahead. Our hotels are running about 80 to 100% capacity all the time. We're very short of hotel rooms. And all of that happened, go ahead, because we embraced what made us different, and we encouraged people to get in the boat and row the same direction. Go ahead. Isn't that all sunshine and pixie dust and unicorns? Raise your hand if you have anything to do with business or economic development in this room. You do? Yeah. So what I told you is all true, but it's really, really hard. It's like swimming with ankle weights, right? In 2019, the unimaginable happened in Wetumpka, Alabama. We got hit by an EF2 tornado in our historic district. We lost 35 structures, including our police station, our senior center, a bunch of houses, and our two oldest churches, the iconic white church at the foot of our bridge. So if you've been through anything like that, since we live where hurricanes and tornadoes come, you know that that's pretty rough. This is my favorite one. I've written a book and I have a whole chapter on social media, so I won't go into that about negativity. But the negative Nellies, we have no money. The owner uses the building as storage. We've never done it that way before. I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. And we can't find employees, okay? Right? It's pretty tough when you are here and you love this place and you're doing the work and all you hear is this just negative influx of toxic yuck, right? Go ahead. The struggle is real. We were coming out of a global pandemic. We were not a tourist destination, and suddenly we just had all these people in our town. There was a labor shortage and a supply shortage. So people were coming to the restaurant that was on the show at 10:30 in the morning and lining up across the parking lot. And once there were 150 people, they couldn't seat them anymore because we didn't have enough people to work. So what were we gonna do? We knew that workforce, right? Is workforce a problem here? Do you have trouble coming to work? Yeah, it's everywhere, right? So we knew that we needed to create a pipeline. This is twofold. It isn't great when your young people grow up and move away because just like a church, you need them to stay and you need people to do the work. So we have a really good technical school where they taught welding and woodworking and all the things they teach at technical school. So we went to Emily, we said, Emily, we need hospitality training now. Tourism, food preparation, catering, hotel room management, all the things. And she said, all right. And we now have all of those things in our high school. Those kids are now working in our restaurants, working in our hotels, and we are bringing them up so that they can stay and they are trained to work in our community. We have no money. We're in Alabama, of course we don't. Now, long before the streetscape in Wetumpka, when you drove through, oddly, the buildings were boarded up, but there were flowers. There have always been flowers. Why would they do that? They do that because if you give something flowers, it means it matters. So even though there wasn't money and the streetscape wasn't done yet, they put flowers in front of the empty buildings. And the way they did that is they bought a bunch of recycling bins and they asked people to save their cardboard and plastic. That's how it started. And they bought a few hanging baskets. And over time, it has grown. Now there's a whole arm called Wetumpka Pride. There's a whole team of people that come out like Disney and they do the islands of flowers because over time it has grown. But they just started with some plastic bins, right? They acted like it mattered, even though the town was boarded up and empty. Sometimes the worst building owners are the ones with a lot of money. Forgive me if I step on your toes, but I don't have to spend Christmas here. Building owners, especially like people that have inherited a building, but in our town, we had someone that was incredibly affluent and he didn't need the money. And he owned one whole end of the street. So when we went to do our first Dickens Christmas, it's hard to make magical Christmas in Beirut, right? So I went to him, I won't say his name. I said, hey, I'm not Southern, give me the keys. And he said, no. I said, it's for the children and it's Christmas. Give me the bleeping keys. And he said, all right, but you have to sign a contract for 2 days and pay the power bill. I said, great. Where do I sign? We ran in that building, washed the windows, hung up some Christmas lights, and we put pop-up shops in there. And that following night, people would walk down the street and they go, oh, look, there's something in there. For the first time in a decade. Yeah, life. For 2 nights, there was something in those buildings, and he locked the door. Second year, I said, give me the keys. And he grumbled, and I had to sign the contract. But, right. But he let me in. We put the quilters in there, put an apothecary. It was great. Third year, I could not get the keys because he had renovated all the buildings. Every one of his buildings now has retail in them. And my message is this. Wear them down. Just wear them down. Get your foot in the door. What will they let you do? Will they let you paint the door? Can you put high school art in there? What can you do to make them get in the boat to just start, okay? And paper in the windows is a no-no. Don't put paper in the windows. Put a sign that says, imagine your business here with a light bulb. Picture your business here. Something positive, not for rent, empty space. That's terrible, right? How can you put a positive narrative on it and don't put paper in your windows? So who are you? What's your story? Your town is cute. You cannot lay out a better downtown. This is perfect. This is the perfect layout. So who are you and what's your story and how can you tell it? What do you want to be known for? You got to figure that out. You got to figure out what you want to be known for so you can head the right direction. Go ahead. Go ahead. So surround yourself with change makers, the creative, passionate ones, and the elected officials, right? And reimagine yourself and your community. Go ahead. This is Company Street now, okay? And every Christmas, I stand at the end of that street during Dickens Christmas and I cry. I don't cry because of economic impact, because I don't do what I do because of economic impact. I cry because the work that we are doing is forever changing the trajectory of our community. Long after I am gone, children will go to college that could not go before. Because there are businesses, because when someone comes and says, Shellie, I want to open a cheese shop, and I help them do that, then they are achieving their life's dream, and all of that money comes and helps our schools and sets a role model for the kids to achieve their dreams too. So this is the good stuff. We are doing God's work. Focus on that, not on the, I don't like them, they don't like me, and we don't agree, and all this stuff that happens in a small town. Focus on the big vision of what will happen 15 or 20 years from now. We all want someone else to act, but miracles aren't what other people do. They're what each of us does. They're what happens when ordinary people take extraordinary action. To be a miracle doesn't mean you have to tackle problems across the globe. It means making a difference in your own living room, cubicle, neighborhood, and community. Each of you has a different set of gifts that you can bless your community with, whatever that looks like. Go ahead. At the end, I always ask if there's questions. And I get the same question every time, so I just finally made a slide. The question's this: did your kids stop crying? Yes, they did stop crying. In fact, they have flourished in the South. People thought I was crazy moving them here, but they are flourishing. If you ask them, they will all tell you that they are Southern, and all three of them say y'all. which is super funny because my kids are Korean. Go ahead. So I am Shellie. I will tell you this. I will answer my phone. I will answer your email. If you don't want to ask me something in front of this group of people, you can ask me later. I am here all evening. I love helping small towns. I will love to cheer you on. I come through here often. So that's it. And I would love to just have some organic conversation. Ready, set, go. There you go. Okay. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Come on. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Did you know you were standing below an opera house?
I did know that because my friend had sent me pictures, and I'm hopeful I get to go. You've got really great history here. That's a diamond right there. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't get any better than that.
I once heard a talk made by Hal Holbrook,
Mm-hmm.
who is an actor. He said that he said, I have performed all over the world. And he has, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He said the two best venues he's ever performed at in the world were two opera houses that have been restored.
Mm-hmm.
One in Meridian, Mississippi, and one in Columbus, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you cannot imagine what that would do to any place that has anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw that.
Well, I will say, if you are watching the current show with Ben and Aaron Napier, season 3 is in Sebring, Florida. I'm very lucky that I continue to work with them and help the towns that they choose. And so I spend a lot of time in Sebring. They redid their community theater. And it is not a much of a theater as it is a community gathering space, a place for people to come together and to host events. And it is just flourishing because it's in the middle of town. People come and do that. They eat dinner. And so it draws people in. So I love everything about that. I love that. I'm listening.
I think in a small town where we've got, people are just trying to make it with their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get everybody to understand that bringing other business in here doesn't mean it's better for them and not against them?
Oh, that's a great question.
So,
Okay, her question is, how do you let people know if you already have a business and somebody else brings a business in that they're not competing with you? So when I moved to Wetumpka, we had one where everybody hung out and ate on the river. And then I showed you the picture that we opened that first restaurant. And everybody said, you're going to put them out of business. So we opened them up. And the first month, the original restaurant sales went up 30%. Competition breeds success because you have more to choose from, and it makes people operate to a higher standard. Now, should you have 3 boutiques that are all selling the same thing? No, absolutely. You should find your own niche. But different restaurants, different types of businesses, that's just good for everybody. That helps. I mean, you're a long way from a large city here. So any business you bring in that does a good job that's just quality of life issue. So no, competition is a beautiful thing. And honestly, it really is great. In Wetumpka, our businesses are great about working together. They do events together. They share things. This restaurant will do a cocktail with popsicles in it from the shop next door, and this restaurant gets his brisket from over here. Because amazing when you all do this as opposed to this. You're a family, act like one. You all have the same last name. And so and it's not, look, everybody has trolls. We have ours too, but we know who they are. We just get in the left lane and go around them. Yeah. Sorry, don't record that part. It's true. It's true. Uh-huh.
What brought more to the community? Was it art and history or workforce?
Both. She asked what brings more, art and history or workforce. It's all together. One is about storytelling, and all of those are facets of economic development. You can't have one without the other. You have to have, your police department is as important as, your schools. Like everybody matters in economic development. Everybody matters in economic development. It's not just the people that sit in that office at the city that say economic development. Everybody matters. So, but I do think the art and the history are important to the storytelling and the branding and making you niche-y. And so everything in our town is about Coosa this, the Coosa that. We really embrace the river.
I think the biggest thing I hear from you is working together.
Yep. Absolutely. And they don't have to like each other. Just work together. 100% working together. Sebring has been super successful because they have a powerful team of people and they work so beautifully together. It's just pure joy. It's pure joy to be in the room with them because they all just share this vision for their community and they all work really well together. And so that's good. Not all towns do, but all towns can be working towards that. And I think a common vision, that's where that branding and that mantra kind of come into place, that it gives all of you something to hold on to that even though you're different is similar. I just think it gives you some, like a pool noodle, something to hold on to in the process. So, any other questions? You good? Okay, I'm listening.
I'm sorry, guys.
You're good.
Help us all understand how, I know a lot of people can say, well, the downtown area is not going to help everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all walks of life here. There's all different socioeconomic,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Okay.
So how does
Okay.
a revitalization
Right.
downtown really
Good question.
trickle down
Right.
for everybody?
Can you hear that? She asked, how does a downtown revitalization help everybody? Does everybody in this town drive on your roads? Does everybody in this town go to your schools? Economic impact. I'm a teacher. I do what I do because I love kids. I want our elementary and middle school are Title I. I want our kids to have good robotics. I want our kids to have art. I want our kids to have a level playing field. Our kids get that from lodging tax, sales tax, all of that. We just built a huge new sports complex with pickleball fields and a splash pad, and we put it on the side of the bridge where our poor families live. So all of that comes from the fact that you need people spending money to have that money coming in. So it doesn't matter where they spend the money, but if you do right here in your historic downtown, start in the middle and work out, economic impact helps everybody. That helps everybody. And the other thing is this, I was just in a town this last week that had a cute downtown like yours, but they had not been strategic with sign ordinances nor ordinances about types of businesses that could be there. And so it is rough. They have these beautiful old buildings with these massive, big, ugly Vegas signs on the front. Oh, like so rough on the integrity of the building. And just what we refer to as nuisance businesses. There's a place for every business, but maybe not in your historic downtown. So when you know who you want to be, there are things that are not allowed in our downtown. They're just not allowed. And we have a very, very strict sign ordinance. No neon. Every sign will be on a black arm so that it looks old, it matches. It doesn't cost anymore. But again, it creates the idea that there's cohesiveness and you're a community. You don't have, it's just creating a vibe, and it makes people want to come there because it's cute. So whatever that looks like. But there are things you will not see in downtown Wetumpka. You'll see it outside of Wetumpka. We have everything, but just not in the historic downtown. That's up to you. But once you allow that, once that happens, it's much easier to get in front of those things than behind it. We have one really bad sign in our downtown. The minute he takes it down, I can't wait. But it was grandfathered in, but. So those are just things to be thinking about, and as you grow, things we've had to think about are like ordinances for Airbnbs. We didn't have that before. So you don't want someone putting an RV in their backyard and let people stay in it and then, making the neighbors mad. So we had to get rules for that we hadn't thought about before. So there's just things you need to be forward thinking about to get in front of so that you're, to avoid conflict later. So anyway, I don't know if those all answered your questions, but you do have a fabulous downtown. So I would just protect the fire out of this thing. It's so good. So any other questions? Good. All right. Well, you have my information. I'm around. Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You can reach me. So you're welcome.